So we are looking at a brand new unit today called area. Now, area will be familiar to you because you used area models when we were working on multiplication. Now we're going to look at just what area is and how it applies to our daily lives in the world at large, outside of school. Because area is a very important concept that you need to know how much space a specific room or building or environment or table or whatever you're going to put things on has or put things in. That's the area of an object. So today we're going to use an area model to work out the rectangles of, or to work out the area of rectangles. First of all, we'll need to look at our new success criteria so that we know the vocabulary that we are going to master and so that we know our goals to be successful in this unit. So Ms. Thaxton will now share with us our success criteria.
This week, we're going to start a new math learning target, 3M5. 3M5 says that we're going to find the area of a rectangle with whole number side lengths by modeling with unit squares and show that the area is the same as would be found by multiplying the side lengths. As we work through this learning target this week, some words that you might need to be familiar with are area, length and width, grid lines, expression, unit squares, and figure. I want you to think about these words as you're hearing them in today's lesson.
Alrighty, and then we are also working on these goals down here, finding the area of a rectangle with whole number side lengths and showing the area would be the same when we multiply as well as when we count the number of unit squares. Here is a review of what you've seen so far with area models and multiplication.
Hopefully this page looks familiar to you. This is the exact same page that we used a couple of weeks ago when we were learning how to multiply numbers using an area model. Well, the area model is called an area model because it's often used to find the area of a shape. The area of a shape is just how much space that shape takes up. So let's take a look and just kind of remind ourselves how to find a multiplication problem using an area model. If you remember, multiplication is just blank groups of blank equals blank. So let's fill this in using this area model. So we have rows, 1, 2, 3 rows. But remember that each row is considered a group in an area model. So if we have 3 rows, we have 3 groups of, and then we count how many's in each row. 1, 2, 3 in the first row, 1, 2, 3 in the second row, and 1, 2, 3 in the third row. So what we have here are 3 groups of 3. And if we counted each one of those dots we just made, or each one of the squares that are there, we would find that we have 9 altogether. Okay, let's do another example. Looking at the blue rectangle, counting down will tell us how many rows we have. So we have this row, 1, 2, 3, and each row contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what we have here are 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and each row, as we saw, has 7 in it. So if we counted each one of these squares, we would say that 4 times 7 is 28, or 4 rows of 7 equals 28.
Alrighty, so what is area? We are going to take some notes on area today. Before we do, we're going to watch a short video and you have a goal during that video. Here is your goal.
What you just saw was an area model problem being worked. It's called area model because the area model helps you figure out how much area a shape takes up. So to see some more detailed information about what area really is, there's a video I'd like for you to watch. On this page, there's also several fill-in-the-blanks. I would like for you to carefully listen as the video is being played and see if you can fill in each one of these blanks.
Okay, so the blanks that we're going to listen for is area is the size of a blank surface. Area is measured in blank units. One way to find the area is to blank the square units. Another way to find the area is to multiply the shape or the shape's blank by its blank. So we're going to listen for those statements today. See if you can catch at least two of them.
Hey kids, thanks for joining me today. I have a little story to tell you about why I need to learn about area. You see that floor and how nice it looked? Well, I thought so too, so I told my friends we should drop some bouncy balls on it to see how high they bounce. My friends thought I said bowling balls. Oh no! Look what happened when they dropped bowling balls! Obviously, we need to replace the floor, but in order to do that, we need to learn about area. Can you help me? Great! Let's take a look at some floor tiles. Once we learn about area, we can figure out how to get the right amount of floor tiles to fix the room. The first thing we need to know about area is that we are only working with two-dimensional shapes. What that means is we are only concerned about the width and the length. We are not worrying about how thick this tile is because we only need to know the measurement of the area to determine how many tiles we will need. Area is the space within a closed shape like this square. The second thing we need to know is what a square unit is. This square measures 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. We can say the area of this square is 1 square centimeter because its measurement is 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. The word centimeter is just a unit of measurement. We can also use other units of measurements like meters, feet, miles. Well, you get the idea. Here we have a rectangle that is divided into square units. The rectangle is 2 units wide. The length is 3 units. So we know the width and length, but we need to find the total area of this rectangle. One thing we can do is count each square unit. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The total area of the rectangle is 6 square units. Great job! Because this rectangle is divided perfectly into square units, we could count the square units to find the total area. That is cool, but there is an easier way to find the area. In order to find the area of any square or rectangle, you can multiply the length times the width. This is called a formula. A formula is a mathematical way to solve a problem. To find the area of a square or rectangle, the formula is area is equal to the length times the width. We just found the area of this rectangle by counting the square units. We got 6 square units. What if we plug the numbers into this formula? The area of the rectangle is equal to 3 multiplied by 2. What is 3 times 2? 6. Amazing! We just found the area of the rectangle without even counting the square units. This is very helpful because watch this next rectangle. Here is a rectangle that does not have lines showing us where the square units are. We could try and draw them because we know there are 7 square units for the length and 4 square units for the width. But we are going to use the formula. Area equals length of 7 multiplied by width of 4. What is 7 times 4? The answer is 28. 7 times 4 is 28. So the answer is 28 square units. Awesome job, guys! Now that we know how to find the area of a square or rectangle, we need to find out how many tiles are needed to repair the floor in the room we just broke. Here is the room. We need to know the area in square units to replace it with new floor tiles. To find the area of this room, we need to find the length and the width. What is the length? Counting the square units across, we get 7. What is the width? Counting down, we get 5. We have what we need to find the area. Area equals length, which is 7 square units, multiplied by the width, which is 5 square units. What is 7 times 5? The answer is 35. The area of this room is 35 square units. Great job! Now we know how many square tiles to buy, 35. Thank you so much for helping me find the area of the floor. Next time I will have to be more clear when I speak, so my friends don't go throwing bowling balls. Looks like they found the bouncy balls. Hey guys, you have a few options here.
Alrighty, so area. Let's come back to those notes and see if we can figure out what we were supposed to fill in the missing blanks. When you are finding the area is the size of a what kind of surface? Do you remember? What kind of surface? Terrence?
Equal.
Equal. It's going to be flat, so like a level playing field, so straight across. So area is the size of a flat or an even spaced surface, okay? So it's not 3-dimensional, it's 2-dimensional, it's flat, okay? Area is measured in blank units. What kind of units, Leah?
Equal units.
You guys like this word equal. They are equal because each side is the same size. So Leah, if it's a shape and each side is the same size, what kind of units are they?
They're equal units.
They are equal units, but we need to come up with the name of a shape. So they are square units. And squares have equal size sides. So the length and the width are the same size. And we call it square units because if you're going to figure out how much space something takes up, you've got to look on the long side, got to look on the wide side to figure out, oh, this much space is covered by that object. So squares, we have a measurement going side to side and going up and down, okay? One way to find area is to count the square units. You can count them to see how many will fit inside of a space. Another way to find area is to multiply the shape's length by its width, okay? Length by its width. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to get ready to write some of this down. If you would please go and grab your math notebooks. You will need your math notebooks with a title at the top of a page of area. And I'm going to give you a moment to grab those notes and get them titled before we continue on. All right, kiddos. So we are going to take some notes on area. First of all, we have to figure out what is area. So we're going to write down a definition of area, okay? Area is the amount of space an object covers. Area is the amount of space an object covers. That object could be anything at all that can sit on or cover up something else. So, carpet can sit on top of the ground. So you can find the area of how much carpet you would need. Your notebook right now is covering up wherever it is you are writing. For me, it's my desk. So my notebook has an area as well because it has an amount of space that it is covering up of another object. One of the main ways that we hear about area inside of our lives daily is when discussing the amount of space that a building covers. So if you are ever looking for an apartment or a house one day, they will describe to you the square footage that that apartment or that house takes up. And that square footage is the area of the apartment or the house. It's how big that location is, how much space you would have to live in. So area is the amount of space an object covers. Okay. Now we talked about this, but we're going to draw a nice picture to help us as well. Area is described in square units. So go ahead and draw yourself a big old square and try to make sure that it's as even of a square as possible so that all four sides are the same size. Okay. So area is described in square units, and that's because if we're going to look at how much space something covers, we can't just look at one side. If we only had one side, that wouldn't tell me how much it's covered. It would just tell me where it started or where it stopped. It wouldn't show me the whole thing. So area is measured in square units. Square units. A really easy way to remember that area is measured in square units is to think about tiled floors. So when you are walking and you see square tiles on the floor, those are covering the area of the hallway that you are in. Other places we find tiles is oftentimes bathrooms or kitchens as well. So those square units are covering, they're a good way to remember the area. At school, inside of the Indian Creek classrooms, we also have squares of carpet. And those carpet squares are covering the area of the classroom. So we could count how many squares of carpet are inside of the classroom and describe its area by that many square units. Okay. Square units have two important pieces of information, and they are length and width. Okay, so length and width. We'll talk a little bit later about how to distinguish the difference between length and width. But for right now, it's just important for you to know that if one side of the square is called the length, the other side of the square would be called the width. So if you're going to call the part that goes left and right on the top and the bottom length, then the part that goes up and down on the left and the right would be called width. So there's two descriptions of squares: how long they are going across, how wide they are going up and down. Length and width are important pieces of vocabulary for you to describe area. So area is the amount of space an object covers, and we've talked about square units and how they have two dimensions, length and width. Now we're going to write down the two ways that you can find the area of a square. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the pink, and remember, if you aren't ready yet, that's okay, because I will upload this to Seesaw. So there are two ways to find area. Two ways to find area. And we will write both of those ways down. Two ways to find the area of any object at all. That object could be the room that you are sitting in. It could be the space that the couch or the chair covers on the floor. It could be the amount of space that your notebook is covering on your writing space. It could be how big a drawing is on a piece of paper. Anytime space is covered, that is area. Paintings hanging on the wall have an area because they're covering up a part of the wall. Refrigerators on a kitchen floor and a kitchen wall have an area because they're covering up that amount of space. So anytime we're covering up another part of space with an object, it is called area. So the first way to find area is to count the square units. This works really well when you can see the square units. Like as we were talking about, maybe tile on a floor or carpet squares on a floor or grid lines on graph paper. You're just going to count the square units. But let's say you need to buy carpet that's all one big, huge piece to cover up a room. It's not in squares. Is there any way to see the square units? No, it's not coming in tiny squares. So that's when we have to use our multiplication, which is our second way to find the area. So now when we don't have squares that are drawn for us to see, there's a second way, and that is when we multiply the length times the width. So that's when we figure out, oh, this area of carpet needs to be 17 feet long and it needs to be 8 feet wide. We don't have individual squares to count, but when we are given the measurements, we are able to determine how much area will be covered by the objects that we're talking about. The last thing that we're going to write down is 3 letters with a multiplication and an equation sign. I'll give you a moment to write down the 2 ways to find area, and then we will finish that up. One thing that you will see a lot when we are talking about area is what we call a formula. And a formula describes the type of math that you are going to do. So what you will see is a capital A, and that capital A equals or represents area. Okay? So this is when we're going to start getting into letters representing numbers inside of math. Area, and what you'll see, is equal to length, so that's a lowercase l, times width, it's a lowercase w. And this stands for area is equal to length times width. So you're going to take one side of the square or rectangle of the shape that you are figuring out and multiply it by the other, just as you would in an array or an area model in multiplication. So area is equal to length times width. These are all of the notes that we're going to take today. I'm going to let you finish those up, and as you are finishing them up, I'm going to upload them onto Seesaw so that if you did not have time to finish, you will be able to during your work time. And also, if you ever lose your notebook or don't have your notebook with you in the area that you are doing school, you can reference them on Seesaw as well. So take a few moments to finish up those notes, and I will upload these to Seesaw for your reference. Okay, those are uploading to Seesaw now. We'll send them to everybody and we'll put them in the math folder. And there we go. They are uploading. Okay. Beautiful. So we have taken time to look at what area is and taken a few notes on how to find area. Now let's apply this with an example, okay? So this is an example of how you can find the area of a drawing or an object that you see. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and do one live for you. If you feel like you need more examples or practice during your work time, Mrs. Thaxton has recorded an example on slide 4. I'm going to go ahead and do one with you here now, okay? So we're going to try these on your own with your teacher, and then we'll click the play button to check our work here in a moment. But let's say I am given this right here, and I am asked to find the area in square units. You can see that in the red, there are multiple smaller red squares that make up this rectangle. Let's say that this is the area of the kitchen. So I'm looking at a map of an apartment that I would like to rent, and this is my kitchen. I want to know how big is the kitchen, okay? I'm going to count the square feet that are inside of that kitchen. 1 square, 2 squares, 3 squares, 4 squares, 5 squares, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Woo, that took a longer time. This has an area of 20 square units. So if I were going to rent this apartment, my kitchen would be 20 square feet, okay? So now I'm going to show you why multiplication can help you. Counting out individual squares is going to take a long time, especially when we get to larger areas that get up into the 50s, the hundreds, the thousands. So we don't want to have to go 1, 2, 3. We want to be able to have a shortcut. So what we do is we count just like we would with an array. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 square units on, let's call this the length. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 square units inside of each row, or when we're working with multiplication on the width. So this would be an array of 4 times 5, or an area of 4 square units times 5 square units. So we would have an area of 20 square units. Okay? We would get the answer the same whether we counted each individual square or if we looked at the multiplication equation that matches the area. The multiplication equation is going to be your most efficient or quickest method as you get fluent in your multiplication facts. Okay? Any questions on how I found the area by counting the squares or by multiplying the length and the width? Good? Okay. So we can do the same thing here for this one. It's going to take me not as long as this one because it's smaller, but it's still going to take me a good amount of time. So I'm just going to see my dimensions. This has a width of 2 square units, and it has a length of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 square units. So I could write this as a multiplication equation of area is equal to length times width, or area is equal to 2 times 5. This would give me an area of 10 square units. I have to have that label square units because 1, I'm going to think you're talking about purple unicorns flying through space, but 2, if you don't say square units, I think you're solving standard multiplication. I don't know that you are working with area specifically. So square units is going to be your best friend over these next week or two, okay? Square units. This is how you would find the area of a shape. You are going to get some practice today with looking at area of given rectangles and squares. You're going to be using a grid. So today you're going to see examples that have the squares drawn for you. We've done all of the instructional slides together. Here is your independent work, and you guys can't see it yet because I still have it locked. So yes, I'm aware of that. On the student slides, you're going to click Add Response. On slide 1 is a video telling you to go to BrainPop Junior, or you can go through Clever. Watch the video on area and complete the easy quiz. So if I add a response, I'm going to see on slide 1 a note that says your teacher can assign this on BrainPop, and I did. So when you go to Clever and you click on BrainPop Junior, you're going to have a little floating icon that's red up here that says assignment 1, and you're going to click on that assignment. I have assigned you watching inside of your, there it is, watching the area movie and taking the easy quiz. 20 of you haven't done that yet, which is good because I haven't released it to you. So you'll click on the assignment and then it will show you that you are going to watch the movie and you are going to take the easy quiz. Okay? So that is the first thing that you are going to do inside of your Seesaw assignment, is watch the BrainPop video and take the easy quiz. You're going to upload a snapshot of your quiz, just like you would upload a snapshot of your reading log or your DMR quiz score. So you'll take a picture of how many you got correct and you'll upload it here. Okay? Then on slide 3, you have an example. That's why it says example. There's no work to do here. It's just to study so you know what to do on the next slides. On slides 4 and 5, you will do what the slides tell you. Count the squares, multiply length and width. Count the squares, find the area, multiply. On slide 6, you're going to do the same thing. You can choose whether you want to multiply or count the squares, and you're going to tell me the number of square units. You'll do the same thing on number 7. There are 3 smaller rectangles that you are going to count or multiply to get the total area of this shape. This is going to be more like what you'll encounter in your adult lives when you're shopping for apartments or houses. For instance, you might have the living room over here. You might have the dining area over here. And you might have the kitchen over here. So this might be like a floor plan of what you would encounter. Okay? So you'll find the area of this. As always, you will rate yourself on your success criteria. It's day 1, so it's okay if you feel like this is hard. It's okay if you feel like you almost got it. And it's okay if you think you got it down pat. You're going to rate yourself, with your success criteria by telling me how you are feeling about the goal of finding the area of rectangles by multiplying or counting square units. Okay? That was a lot, but as always, it's right here in your instructions. So you can click View Instructions, and there's everything that you're supposed to do, step by step. Okay? This is your assignment to complete today.